After hearing the back and forth, I don't think there was that middle one. Because people put up there and instead of going. Or something, it just, it's one move that you try to make it easier. I think. Yeah.
It being 6 o'clock, I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Enfield Select Board on January 17th, 2023. The first item on the agenda will be the swearing in of Officer Matthew Ocker.
Shake your hands first.
Whereas there is a vacancy in the office of police officer in the town of Enfield, and whereas we have confidence in your abilities and integrity to perform the duties of said office, we do hereby appoint you, Matthew Ocker, as police officer. Do you, Matthew Ocker, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent of you as a police officer according to the best of your abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire?
I do.
Welcome to the town of Enfield.
I'll take a quick minute to introduce Matt to the board. Matt Ocker lives here in town with his wife and his daughter. Welcome to the force. She's going to be going to the academy in the end of February and will graduate in June. Look forward to having Matt on our team.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the minutes of December 19, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve as printed.
So second.
Any comments, corrections?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I will abstain as I was not at that meeting. Board reports.
I have nothing to report. The Heritage Commission meets next week.
I don't really have anything to report.
I was not able to make it to planning. Did you happen to sit in on planning?
They passed some articles that we can discuss when we get to the warrant.
Mhm.
The master plan got approved, though, didn't it?
The master
Yeah,
plan
that'd be
did
the big-
approve.
Mhm.
I can talk a little bit about budget in my report.
All righty.
I can touch on it.
Thank you. Town managers report.
Thank you. As normal, want to give a little bit of a staff report. Things have been happening here in the town. As you know, we've been looking for an accounting payroll clerk. We have made an offer that's been accepted in that position. So the applicant right now is going through background checks and we're preparing to start them. They're planning on starting the first week, so the week of February 6th, and we're excited to have her aboard. I'll give you guys a little bit more information after the background's completed. We can move on. I would like to take a moment during this time of transition to thank the town staff. We've had many people on the staff that have stepped up to cover the extra work that needed to be done with that position being open. I'd like to give a little bit of a special thanks to Elisa and Julie Huntley, who have stepped up. They're doing payroll and AP and making sure all that gets done. And as you know, the bookkeeping accounting job is a full-time job that they're taking on top of their work. So thank them for all their extra work and the time they've put in to keep things moving ahead. The Enfield PD, we'd like to welcome Matthew Ocker, but we still have some transition going on. Since December, we've had 2 police officers resign from the police department. So we have one opening right now, and we will have another opening soon. So we're continuing to look at that. We talked a little bit in between our meetings with some other groups about a possible certified police officer that we had kind of in the works to bring on. Unfortunately, that did not work out and that person is not coming. So we're continuing to look for people to fill those positions. So I will keep you posted as we continue that search.
Any thoughts on the reason for the 2 departures?
Not fully, but money was a part of that. Both of the people that left got more money. They both left to go to Canaan, so they left to Canaan for more money. So we will be continuing to work on that. I'll talk about that in the budget committee.
Indeed.
In DPW, we're down 1 light equipment operator after filling our groundskeeper position, who's started with the town now. So we have received multiple applications for the light equipment operator position, and we will be interviewing the top 3 applicants in the near future. I think Jim was hoping to do it near the end of this week, but it looks like we have snow coming, so we'll figure out when we can interview those people and hopefully get someone started here in the near future. Little update on the water project. The Maple Street water main replacement project is out to bid, with bids being due this Thursday. We did have many contractors show up for the bid meeting, so our engineer and Jim were pretty excited that we're possibly going to get some bids on that job. That'll be good. We are also working on some right-of-way agreements with Canaan. Right now, our water line kind of goes out through the fields and kind of hard to get to, but it looks like Canaan's going to work with us to get some right-of-way agreements so we can just put it along the road there and make it a little bit easier to maintain in the future. So once we get all that ready, we'll be back to the select board for final approvals and awards. So just a little update on the water system and the water chlorination. We did stop chlorinating the water on December 28th. We've tested since then in early January, and all samples came back negative for any contaminants. So we're excited that we're moving forward on that and getting back to normal. Public safety building, not a lot's changed since the last time we talked, I don't believe, but we continue to work on the building. We'll be reviewing the first budget coming up next week. As expected, I think that number is going to be a little bit high, and it'll be time to start doing the work to pull back in a few places to make sure that we stay within that budget. And then Chief Holland's been working pretty hard with Homeland Security and USDA, trying to secure some grants for the EOC and some of the interior finishings that'll be needed with that building. So we continue to work on that. We have some finance work to do for USDA to finish that loan application. And then I continue to work with our bond counsel and Mascoma Bank to financing for Whitney Hall before we start looking for our contractor to put that project together. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more later tonight with the loan agreement. And then I was going to say last but not least, but I'll touch on budget too. I do have a meeting this week with Du Bois and King, our invasive species project that's going on. They are finalizing the draft report at this time, and I expect to see that in the next couple of days. And then we'll be talking on Friday with the ecologist, kind of reviewing what's in the report a little bit, what she's found out there, and then we'll be talking about next steps in public education and the things we need to do to continue moving that project forward. With that, the budget's kind of getting narrowed down. We're getting close to the end of that. Trying to find some last little places that we can keep some or pull some money out of the budget and maintain the services that we'd like to provide. Right now, it's looking like the general fund is gonna be right around or just over 4%, 4.2% increase. When we add on the public safety building to that, it looks closer to 11% total, but like I said, we're continuing to look at that. We looked at revenues today and we're gonna continue working. One of the big things that was discussed with us, losing quite a few employees, especially in the police department, and looking at what's happening across the state, getting information from town managers all across the state on what they're doing. It appears that the average raises are in the 6.5 to 7% range. We know cost of living increases this year was about 7%. Social Security got a raise of 8.7%. So the budget committee right now has approved and is looking at an 8% raise for the cost of living raise for the employees. So that is in the 4.2% increase at this time. It's kind of where we're at on budget, and that's what I have for a town manager report.
Yeah, I was at that meeting. And I would just want to comment, it was a very good meeting. A lot of information was obtained. And the budget committee voted unanimously for this. And that's a bit of a rarity, I think. I was impressed.
That's my report.
Okay. Next up, we have communications, none at this time. So the business of the evening, first up is the Board of Health 2022 review.
Liam's not here. I thought he was gonna be here to talk to you about this, but we put in your packet, legislative update of the town meeting, and then should be his report. Did his report put in here?
Oh, my husband.
What I put? Okay, yeah, I covered it, so.
Okay.
So if you look through that, you can see what we had. He worked pretty hard this summer on the cyanobacteria bloom when it happened, making sure that that got addressed with help from the Mascoma Lake Association, who put a lot of the signage out for us. The cause of the bloom was unspecified. However, runoff from lawns into the lake was suspected to be the likely cause of the bloom. We continue to work on that. I've been working, I think I mentioned it in my last town manager report. I'm meeting with Granite State Rural Water this week to look at creating a watershed management plan so we can really get on top of that and try to help stop some of the runoff and things that we can do to stop these in the future. The health officer also worked with homeowners and landlords to address issues related to concerns with septic systems. There were 5 of those. Trash nuisances, 3 of those. Drinking water concerns, 2. Mold concerns, 2. Lead paint, 1. And heating and weatherization, 1. There were no COVID-19 related inquiries that he had to deal with this year. That's kind of a little summary of the health officer report for this year.
Thank you. Next up, we have community power.
Yay.
Yay.
We're getting really close now. So the idea is that we want all of the Enfield residents, businesses and municipalities to be on a less expensive electric rate. So, and one that can expand and encourage renewables and even less expensive in the future. So I won't go through all the history that I've gone through in the past. You were given a cost sharing agreement and policies to review. Our attorney came to a joint session with many CPCNH people, including CPCNH attorneys, to get his questions answered. And I don't know, was there any feedback from that session and from our legal?
Yes.
Oh, okay, what was his feedback?
Well, his feedback really was that after talking to that, I'll back up just a little bit. I did give these documents to our attorneys about Christmas time. They reviewed them when I got back from vacation. I met with Michael Courtney, who works for Upton Hatfield, and he had some, I guess, pretty good concerns about the cost sharing agreement. There was a lot of unknowns in that agreement, and so I worked with Henry Herndon and we kind of put together, our attorney wanted to talk to their attorney. I saw that on a couple other towns too, on email, so we set up, or I worked with Henry to get set up, kind of an attorney to attorney review where their attorneys met with multiple attorneys from across the area to have that conversation. And coming out of that, a lot of questions were answered, and I did receive an email back from Michael Courtney that he was a lot more comfortable and was okay with the select board and the town moving forward to sign that cost share agreement and the policies. So that's kind of where we are today.
Great, and Henry's on the call here too, if we have any additional questions. So tonight, what we're asking for is there's the very specific Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire cost sharing agreement. And we want to designate as a town one principal authority to be a signer of these papers and to be the final, there's a final time at which the costs are all presented to those authorized people of each community. And those people have a chance to say, yes, we're going to do this, or no, it's not what we thought it was going to be, or something like that. And that final date is January 30th. So if we designate, for instance, Ed Morris to be our Enfield's authority, then he would be asked to go to that meeting to give his final yes or no. And so tonight, what we're looking for is a motion that something like this, and I think Ed might have another, that the select board, the Enfield Select Board, authorizes the town administrator to enter into the cost sharing agreement and member services contract for the complete service bundle with Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, CPCNH, with Ed Morris as the authorized officer, and with elections on page 19, and I'll talk about those elections in a minute, being yes, and be it further moved that the Enfield Select Board hereby, number one, approves the CPCNH data security and privacy, the energy portfolio risk management rates and financial reserves policies, and approves amendments to our electric aggregation plan for Enfield Community Power as presented. And it was given to you. And what I want to do is just highlight those changes so you'll understand that. Highlight the questions that Ed, as our authority, would be asked to sign for. So.
What
any
was that
questions?
last sentence? Can you do that for
That's
me?
because you
Because I-
wrote your name in it?
No, I took the very last part out.
Oh, okay, I said,
You wanted in the amendments to the,
as part of the, be it moved, here you go. You can look at that and state it out loud if you want to, everyone to hear it again.
I would just add at the end and approves amendments to the electric aggregation plan for Enfield Community Power as presented in tonight's agenda.
Okay, and I'd like to just say what those are so that you'll know what you're approving.
Excuse me. All right, this one was for something. I like it.
Set. Yes, yeah, they're giving it from the.
I'm just
The
clarifying.
policies as well as the changes to the Enfield Community Power Plan. So starting with the Enfield Community Power Plan, there are a couple of changes, some which were a little bit up in the air. So the utilities have not agreed to all of the PUC's rules on how to deal with electric aggregation. And in particular, they have not agreed to what to do with net metering customers. So those of us who have solar on our roofs or whatever, it's not clear that they will get in line in time for launch. And launch is expected to be April, mid-April? April, let's just say April 1st, just to be ready. And so if they have not gotten their act together and agreed to meet the regulations the PUC has put forward, then it would be disadvantageous for CPCNH to, or for Enfield rather, to have those people get off of the default, get off of Liberty or Eversource, whoever they're with, because it would, change your, it would be a significant, not significant, but it would be a downgrade to your electric bill. So we're not going to bring those people forward in the program if the PUC is, if the Liberty Utilities, if the utilities have not conformed yet. They will have to conform. If it takes a little bit of time, we'll wait until they're done, and then we will make the effort as the Energy Committee and the Aggregation Board of Enfield to reach out to anybody who has solar and say, okay, now it's okay, you can join CPCNH. Okay, so that's one thing. It's in the plan that if they're not ready, we won't automatically opt in the net metering people. The other people we will not automatically opt in are New Hampshire Electric Co-op. And the reason is with New Hampshire Electric Co-op, they already have a co-op. They are buying power on the wholesale market. Our prices will not be much different or whatever from them. And so it wouldn't be fair to opt them in. They can opt in, but it wouldn't be fair for us to force them in because they don't have the same rules as Liberty, Eversource, and Unitil. So those 2 points were updates to the Enfield Community Power Plan. And it's really to help those residents who might fall in those 2 categories. There's a few other small changes to conform with policies and the cost sharing agreement as there were last minute changes. Any questions on the changes to Enfield's Community Power Plan?
I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to enter into the cost sharing agreement and member services contract for the complete service bundle with the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire, open parentheses, CPCNH, close parentheses, with town manager Ed Morse as the authorized officer, and with elections on page 9 of the agreement being yes, in quotes. And be it further moved that the town of Enfield hereby, 1, approves CPCNH's data security and privacy, energy portfolio risk management rates, and financial reserves policies dated December 19th, 2022, and 2, approves amendments to the electric aggregation plan for the Enfield Community Power. For Enfield Community Power as presented in tonight's agenda packet. So there's no thought.
I'll second.
That'd be, just for the minutes, that'll be page 19, not page 9.
It's actually page 22, I'm afraid. So it's just been
right,
reformatted. So it's
Okay, page 22.
And can I read those 3 things that we're authorizing Ed to do? Because it might not have been pointed out. Pursuant to the article, the authorized officer may elect to delay commencing procurement. The officer may specify default and optional products, which I'll talk about in a minute if you like. And the authorized officer may set a discretionary reserve. If Enfield has decided we want to do our own project, we could add a small amount to the amount that all the ratepayers are paying that goes into Enfield's reserve for Enfield programs. So we won't, I'm sure Ed won't do most of those things without the select board, but just want to make sure you know what you're signing.
Do you want that to be part of the motion then? Is that?
Yeah, that's
Yep,
fine.
okay, so I will amend my motion to include those.
They're in there.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what.
Okay.
page-
Just get the page
Yeah,
22 right.
22, yeah, page 22. I was in. All right.
Any discussion from the board?
Only I don't think we've actually formally discussed which default rate we would like to select of the 2. And obviously, we're authorizing it to do it. My view is that we should select the very base lowest cost option as the default.
Yep.
And I just want to make sure we're saying that.
Okay, yeah, one thing to talk about there, we were talking about it a little bit and it may be good to go for the middle option, which is not the cheapest one, but it's not the most green one as well, and people can opt on either side of that as well, but that's for you guys to decide.
I mean, for me personally, I like that, but I think for the town, I think we need to go with the lowest cost option. Because a lot of the folks, especially the folks who really need the lowest cost option, won't have the bandwidth to make the change.
I think I feel the same way. It's something that I'll probably opt into another option personally, but especially where we have a lot of projects coming down the pipeline and quite a bit of spending that we need to do, just giving them that lowest cost option and then if they want to elect, and we can certainly do some education around that too.
I agree with that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people are going to want to change,
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think we need to look at everybody.
Other comments? Do we have a motion?
I seconded her motion.
Oh, you seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
These
much.
Short meetings don't show how much work you guys do, but we know
It's
it's
the
good.
official ones with all the pages and dates, and, you know, things that you would have signed, and so that you got. You have it for me tomorrow.
You stick around tonight, it might be nice.
And here's the real excitement of the evening, review of the draft warrant.
There's a lot on
A lot of yellow highlighting.
So the yellow highlighting in most instances means that it's subject to change, but when it comes to the amendments to the zoning ordinance, the yellow highlighting means something else.
Okay.
It means it's added as opposed to taken out,
Mhm.
but we happen to use the same highlighting color because it's what you can read there. But there's really not a whole lot of change in the first 8 articles. So there was one you wanted to discuss.
Well, we can, if we want, we can talk about the planning board ones. The article number 2, they're looking to add a second accessory dwelling unit into the different parcels. I think we talked about that a little bit. So this is the wording that allows that. The state law states that we have to have at least one. This is allowing people to have 2. Only one of them can be detached from the building. They were trying to stop a whole bunch of different buildings popping up on one parcel. Article 3 was the minimum lot size last year. There was an article to change it to half-acre zoning in the downtown area, and this changes to 1/4 acre zoning where municipal sewer is used.
And other than that, zoning, it remains the same.
It just increases density where we have city
And it
services.
strikes the word water because there are lots that are served by sewer and not water.
Sewer and not water. Yeah, so. That was headed that way, that water and sewer, and then they realized that some people just had sewer. Article 5 is setbacks of 100 feet on prime wetlands. And then Article 6 is a historic overlay for the 3 buildings in Enfield Center, and it only affects them, and there's no real zoning that gets applied. It just creates a district for those buildings. The special flood hazard is as written from the federal government,
Mhm.
so never real change to that.
Fortunately, that article can be abbreviated on the ballot,
Yeah,
but it has to be posted in the fall.
So Article 8's the budget. That will be changing. Article 9 is the capital reserve fund. The normal 5 cent raise.
Mhm.
Employee benefits is normal.
Well, it's actually dropped to 10,000 this year. It's been 30 in the past.
Do we have kind of some tracking on like inflows and outflows and projections on that?
We look at that annually, but we talked a little bit at the budget committee as working towards setting a percentage like we do in the CIP fund. So we just keep it at a certain percentage of payroll.
Oh, okay.
That should keep us in a pretty good ballpark of where we need to be.
Instead of recalculating here.
And it'll make the calculations every year a little bit easier to know where we're at.
So Article 11 is for amending the elderly exemption, which hasn't been done for 10 years. That was recommended by Julie. She has not gotten information about what other towns are doing at this point, so that information will come to you later, because the numbers in here are the ones that we're offering now.
Okay.
So veterans credit. No, that's the solar.
So how is this Article 12 different?
Is this the readoption? This is the readoption of the solar.
Okay.
So
So it's
what had happened is they made the legislature made a change in the RSA.
Mhm.
And it said that if we wanted to add things like Silvermere solar power out here to the exemption, then the RSA needs to be readopted. If we want to keep it just for basic residential, and then it also, the new adoption covers storage and some of the things that were not around when the original RSA was adopted. But gonna move forward with Article 12 on there to cover battery storage and some of the things that'll
Mhm.
come
Because
along.
if we tax that array, we're taxing ourselves.
We did.
I mean, eventually it's coming back to us. I know. No, I know we did, but it's just being great.
And of course, there is the amount that the select board is supposed to decide on. We're currently doing 100% of the assessed value. So,
100% seems,
I'd be in favor of keeping that.
yeah, I mean, we want to encourage people to
Yeah.
pick renewable.
The veterans tax credit one, Article 13, needs to be readopted annually. Right? Or no?
Actually, I don't think it has to be readopted annually, but this is another instance. They clarified the RSAs, and so we have to readopt it.
I know there's a big push in the legislature to make these that they have to be readopted annually. So
They're gonna be in that booth until we die. Are they gonna give us?
be prepared. I
money
think a
later?
lot of them already are, so I'll
Yeah.
double check this one, but
Mhm.
they passed some law last year where a lot of these have to be readopted every year.
Not very. That makes sense.
Article 15 we'll be talking about, or we can talk about now, that's the Conservation Commission one that comes next. If you read Article 15, it has the changes in it that we talked about at the last meeting. So 10% of the land use change collected not to exceed $5,000 in any 1 year.
Did we get a plan for what the money is gonna be used for?
We can,
I didn't see one in the packet, but I was wondering if I missed it. Oh, okay, so there's no.
there's no written. Article 16 is another one that we needed to adopt. I think the trustees of trust funds have been doing this for a while, but by law, we need to adopt this. So it's on there for some housekeeping.
Oh.
And Article 17 is the town forest petitioned article that the Conservation Commission brought forward. Warren, hey.
Oh, there's. That,
Comments from the board?
I don't. Comment.
Okay, next up, we have award chipper RFP.
Were you gonna talk about the Conservation Commission article?
Oh,
Is there anything new that we didn't already have?
No, it's just Article 15 and Dr. Geis wants to speak to it. That's the updated wording that I came up with.
I guess my only comment on 15 sort of remains, the same. It'd be nice to see a written plan of what, you know, the expenditures would be used for and stuff. I know there's some language around what they're allowed to by RSA, but it'd be nice to see a plan for what, you know, an actual written down plan. Similar like CIP has a huge plan because it's very large. And this is a much smaller pool of money, but it'd be nice to see a written plan for several reasons. One, it makes it clear to everybody in town what the intent is. And it also gives future boards guidance on what the intent was when the time comes. Whereas if we just do things verbally, as soon as you get new membership, you lose all of that institutional knowledge in the future. So I'd like to see, something written down of what the planned expenditures are as that trust fund is funded going forward. That's
The
my request.
explanation for the use of the funds is on the warrant article that we are now passing around to acquire the 25 signatures.
Okay, so this is one of the things to do tonight. If you put it on voluntarily, no petitioned article is required. If you decide not to, or don't make a decision, they may want to do a petitioned article. You shouldn't do both. It's either petitioned or it's put on voluntarily.
I don't see how we could put it on without a plan developed, to be honest, and it's not like this is the first time we've asked.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I sort of feel the same way, like having a budgetary plan for expenditure is important when you're creating a pool of money to be spent.
Well, as I say, the voters are going to be aware of that from the warrant article beyond the ballot. That's being passed around now for signatures. I didn't really expect this Board of Selectmen to approve or recommend either of these. But the voters of the legislative body.
Well, and this will be on the warrant for town meeting, not on the ballot, just so you know that.
This will be on the Saturday meeting.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm told.
Okay.
I thought they were both called town meetings. That's what they say on the calendar.
They are,
Yeah.
One's Tuesday and one's Saturday.
but there's no ballot vote on Saturday.
I thought they filled out slips and they were turned in and counted.
Well, in this particular instance, if you want to have a paper ballot, you would have to have 5 people who are present at the meeting ask for a paper ballot so that it's secret. Otherwise, it's just a show of hands or a voice vote.
Well, I suppose that's fine, although last year there was people who were voting by honking their horns in the parking lot, and I don't think that that's a very democratic method.
Well, that won't be taking place this
It'll be
year
at
because it's gonna be
the-
in the school again.
Excellent. All right, very good.
so we say that at this point, Article 15 is going away? And it will be by petition?
It sounds like that's what they're doing.
That's up to you guys, yeah.
If you don't want to approve it, I said there's an explanation for the voters as to what the money is going to be. And I can tell you now, if you wish, we have trails to maintain. We have wildlife habitat to consider. We have, if the town forest declaration or article passes, we have work to be done in that forest. We have to build a parking lot. We have to provide for open spaces as the property has been logged over. But as a result of that, there are openings now that provide for different types of habitats that can be used for different species of animals, which will increase the diversity there. But those have to be planted and so forth. And this town forest is going to be under the management of the Conservation Commission. So that's our job to do those kinds of.
Okay, I would only say that at this point, there is no town forest,
Correct,
and that's up for the voters to decide.
that's right.
But I think what my fellow selectmen are suggesting, and I agree with it, is that you began by listing some things that seem eminently reasonable, right? And that's what we're looking for, but in writing.
So take them
In
and
the-
you give it a budget, right? So you're gonna do, and lay it out so that people know what your budget goal is, what 10% generally looks like, so they understand what they're funding and what they're being asked to fund.
Well, that's fine, but it's only a guess because we have no idea what the CC, the current use fees will be from year to year. We're just asking for 10% of it up to $5,000. It may not reach $5,000 in a year. It may be $5,000, but we don't know. So we can't give you a specific amount of money we're going to get. All we can tell you is what we intend to use it for, and that's what's on the warrant article for the voters to read.
Yeah, how's it going?
Yes, Dan?
I guess my problem here is what you're actually being asked to do tonight is not recommend it.
Yeah.
Just put it on the ballot.
Right.
And I'm gonna say the same thing I said at the planning board last week when they came in with theirs is when a duly elected town commission comes on with a ballot, because they are a duly elected board,
Appointed.
no, they're elected.
No, we're
We're
appointed.
appointed.
We're
They're appointed by us.
I'm sorry. Then my feeling is if the land use board comes forward, that they shouldn't have to go through the hoop of getting signatures. That whether or not you recommend it is gonna happen later. I just think that they should have that ability to put it on the ballot without having to go through go out and get signatures. You can vote not to recommend when it comes to recommend.
Well, they can put that in the narrative, but they cannot put it on the warrant article. Because it's not, well, the moneyed one they can, but not
The moneyed one
But
they
not the
can.
other one.
So as a matter of procedure, like, because I would can you put an article we accepted to put on after a petition one, so they make more sense? Like, if you get the forest, then you can have, because
Traditionally, we put the petition articles last.
right,
Yeah.
And if you start to play with that, then you have to then you're setting a precedent for.
no, I understand that, that's why
Um,
I'm like, I'd almost rather
but
let
you
it go to
can just-
petition, so that you can put the two petition. Did you see what I'm doing here? Like, if he's talking about using that money largely to fund the activity in the forest, so it's like the cart is before the horse if we do it on.
Alternatively, you could move it just before the petitioned article. And a town meeting, ask to the moderator to allow or who would ask the voters to discuss them at the same time. So you can have a full discussion.
Kate, that's not right. We're not necessarily expecting to use the majority of the money for the town forest. There are other things that it would be used for.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a written plan, so it's very hard to tell what you're doing. I think that's you're like, we might do this, we might do that, but without something in writing. Where I'm trying to see it as, how are we gonna explain this at town meeting? Because our job is to make sure that we run a meeting that gives people good information, right? So they can
Well, I
make a
think it's the
decision.
job of the Conservation Commission to explain it at the town meeting, and I will be there to do just that.
So I do think Dan makes a good point. And I'm not at all opposed to having the articles on the warrant. It's more of, I guess, perhaps I need to, like, I would want more information before I voted for this article. But it is a distinguishment of I'm not actually voting for the article now. And I do think that, certainly through a lot of the recent planning efforts, we've seen that there's a strong interest in town for increasing sort of conservation efforts in a few different areas. So, and I guess I'm new to this nuance as well, of, putting something on the article on the ballot versus being supportive of it. I think this, as written, does address all of the questions we had at our previous meetings in terms of, the 10%, the not to exceed 5,000, clearly lists the RSAs as you would want, so that it's clear for the future.
So I guess my one thing, so are we gonna make this a general practice, like if Heritage comes and we're gonna put every article they ask us for, because they're appointed too, right? Like we're talking elected board versus appointed board. Are we gonna make that an overall practice? Like if I don't know, I'm just asking the question. It can go on, I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna get voted on one way or another, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to the voters at town meeting, frankly.
Mhm.
And we could make our voices heard if we
Right,
feel
yeah.
that's a necessity, and we do.
so I just wanna say, like, next time Heritage comes and they have an article, we're gonna have to look at it through the same lens, right?
Yeah. I would agree.
Now, if you have a preference for the order of the articles, if you want to put that one on, but move it down just in front of the petitioned one, so that it's not petitioned, but you can just, they're close together, that can be.
Close together would work.
I think
Yeah,
that makes
I
sense.
think that's a good idea, though, like in my head, I definitely separate those two.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, that they're two completely separate.
Right.
Oh, they are
Like,
separate.
to me,
Do you want them together or do you want them?
right, I mean,
to be separate.
I actually don't think we want people to think of them as the same thing. I think they are separate, they are distinct. Having money in a conservation fund is valuable to the town regardless of what happens with the town forest vote.
Okay.
So you can leave it where it is or move it, whatever you like.
I think the consensus is to leave it where it is.
Leave it where it is, okay.
So it would be clear that those two are not necessarily connected.
Yeah.
That's what we want, because there's a different group of people who want to see that town forest.
That will be clear.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. Continue?
That's all I have there. You can continue down the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Award chipper RFP. Wait a minute.
Yep, that's gonna. So we went out to RFP for the chipper. We got, 2 bids out of 6 that we sent out. And then we also published it. We got 2 bids back. One of them was for 83,800 for a drum style chipper. We had asked for a disc chipper, but they quoted a drum chipper. And then the MV tractor and equipment was 64,804.75, which was exactly what we had spec'd to put on there. We do recommend awarding the bid to MV tractor and equipment. I talked to the CIP committee at their last meeting and they did make a motion like we did on the ambulance for the select board to authorize expenditure of this money immediately if the select board so chooses, but we do have an RFP that we got back and we are ready to make that order and replace that chipper if the select board's okay with it.
Okay. Would you like a motion from us tonight?
Yes.
Make a motion to accept the proposal submitted by MB Tractor Equipment to provide a brush bandit chipper model 255 to the Enfield Highway Department.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, proposed transfer station fee schedule.
So we put a transfer station fee schedule in your packet. If you look on the right-hand side on the rationale for anything that changed, pretty much the cost was increasing to cover the cost of recycling.
Yeah.
Continue to break even on those. Really what it is, I can go down the list and talk about the ones that are changing, but for the most part, they're small changes.
Do you need a motion or just that we're okay with it?
Probably a motion to accept
Make
the
a
proposal.
motion, we approve the proposed Enfield transfer station fee schedule. Packet
All in favor?
today. I don't know. No, end of the month. Is that, what do you want? When are you gonna roll it
That
out?
works for me. Let's do
January 30th?
Yeah.
Or February 1st?
February first.
February 1st.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Award ambulance RFP.
So some documents here, if you wanna look through them. As I stated in the packet, we had bids due on Friday. So they came in and we had sent out multiple RFPs. I did receive one back from Bulldog Ambulance stating that after reviewing the RFP, they did not want to put in a bid.
Yeah.
And then I got one from Patriot Fleet Group. They had asked me to send someone in their company specifically a bid back, and I did that and did not receive anything back from them. We did get two quotes before we went to the CIP committee. One was from Bulldog and one was from Sugarloaf Ambulance. And we did receive a bid back from Sugarloaf Ambulance. They quoted an ambulance at $277,367, and then they also offered a $12,000 trade-in for our current ambulance, bringing the total to $265,367. When we went through the CIP committee, looking at the different ambulances and talking about prices, the Sugarloaf ambulance was the one that we approved off of as well. So I would recommend awarding the RFP to Sugarloaf Ambulance at a total cost of $265,367 after trading.
I'll make a motion to award the purchase of a new ambulance to Sugarloaf Ambulance in the amount of $265,367, with the funds coming from the Enfield ARPA funds, and hereby authorize the town manager or their designee to take such actions and execute all documents that may be necessary to complete the purchase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Acceptance of donations to Mascoma Lakeside Park Trust Fund, $150 in aggregate.
I move, acceptance with thanks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Set public hearing date to accept one-time bridge aid in the amount of $118,378.58.
This was part of the funding that the state decided to give out last year. We got the $121,000 in road maintenance funds, and now we've received $118,378.58 for bridge maintenance and repair.
So would you like to hold that on your Tuesday, February 7th meeting
Yes, please.
at 6 o'clock?
Absolutely.
Is that our from the Oak Hill Bridge, you think?
No, because
No.
that was already budgeted.
So you can't.
We're looking at a couple more. We have the
The Spectacle Pond one was on
We've
your list, which I didn't realize was
Spectacle
considered a
Pond.
bridge.
culvert.
Thought it was like a
Bridge.
land.
Was it East Street?
Also looking at the Bog Road.
Oh,
So we'll be talking about both of those as we move forward with CIP and deciding where we want to use that money.
Okay. And the approval of the Mascoma loan commitment.
So this is what I've talked to you about a few times now. Working with Mascoma Bank, we've put the loan together with the same details that we did for the public safety building, except the interest rate's a little bit higher. So we're looking at a 4% interest rate fixed for 20 years. The remaining 10 years, there'll be a one-time adjustment at that time. The term will be 30 years and it's amortized over 30 years. So if you guys are okay with that, I need approval from you to sign the commitment letter with Mascoma Bank, and then we'll continue working with our bond council and Mascoma Bank to finalize the loan and come back to the select board for final approval.
What's the current 10-year treasury rate? And
I don't know what it is right now.
we know what it averages about.
Any discussion from the board?
Ten-year treasury rate is 3.53. So 40 basis points would put us lower. I'm just, yeah, forgive. I'll make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the commitment letter with Mascoma Bank to borrow up to, but not exceeding, $5,558,086 for the remodel and expansion of Whitney Hall as approved by the voters of Enfield at the 2022 town meeting, and hereby authorize the town manager or their designee to take such actions and execute all documents that may be necessary.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright.
Aye. And that's it, except for administrative items, none at this time.
Do I think that's a sign?
Minutes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so that's like the signature page.
Mhm.
Public comment.
Ah, public, the public.
Just one question. Do you need a motion to take some money out of CIP on that, chipper?
The chipper.
Because there's 17 or 18,000, I think, coming out of there.
They could do it now or when they actually want to withdraw it, because the trustees of trust funds are only going to dispense money no more than twice a year.
Yeah.
So you could do it now. Yeah, we can do it in
So we know the exact amount.
Good question.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Pass this up.
Actually, Kurt Gother answered, raised his hand if he would like to unadjourn.
I'll make a motion to unadjourn. Second. Sorry, Kurt. He's unmuted.
Maybe he walked away.
All right, I think. What? Wait, noise? Kurt? We hear some popping.
He's gone.
That's really interesting. I look at hands over there now, but nothing, but it's all black.
His audio is not working.
Kurt, do you want to write to us?
We have the chat turned off.
No, I mean, just in general, he could write an email into you and Ted and if someone could answer him. All
Do
right,
you want to re-adjourn?
yeah, I'll make a motion to re-adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I'm gonna go plant the slip.